All right. Hey, everybody. Welcome to episode 3 of Listen the Fuck Up. And we've got Dave back for episode 3.
Howdy.
Mr. Commish. Mr. Commish.
So, Nick, I think I've discovered something.
What's that?
We shouldn't start a podcast in the middle of a pandemic. Because Ray...
Why is that?
Well, so Ray, it seems his entire railroad office completely came down with COVID, and he's performing the tasks of like 4 different people right now.
Well, he is... So Ray, who has... Look, his brain comes up with all these weird trades. So I think he could do it. Maybe it's probably, and he hasn't offered any weird, esoteric, goofy trades because the trade deadline has passed. But also, there's a lot that Ray has been a lot more normal on. So I'm here to say that maybe that's not such a bad thing.
Right? Right on.
All right. So
all right.
Let's recap the big week that we just had.
Absolutely.
And we need to talk about there were some big things. There were some big scores. All right. The record for the highest score for the year was 260 going into last week. And we had, obviously, one team, Rob, blew it completely out of the water. Just completely, totally out of the water. Poor Tom never saw what was coming.
It was absolutely nuts. And it
absolutely how do you score 199 points and get beat by 110 points?
Right. Well, you have Tyreek Hill just drop a nuclear bomb on your ass is what happens.
Which, you know what? That's payback, Tom, for Tyler Lockett when you played against me.
He also had Will Fuller and Deshaun Watson stack up and just scored tremendous amount of points.
Will Fuller for the last time.
For the last time, because going into the playoffs, guess what? Mr. Fuller is suspended.
Look, when I look at Will Fuller, you ever seen Will Fuller? He wears those long sleeve shirts for a reason. That was the last guy I would have thought was on steroids. No offense,
I know, right?
Will Fuller. Like, you tell me DK Metcalf or AJ Brown, okay, I'll buy that one. Those guys are stacked. But Will Fuller, I guess maybe step up those steroids a little bit, son.
Right? Yeah.
So look, we had some good games. Really, it was never a game there. And then you had a good game where you beat Cheese Graters, right?
Portchester Whooping Cranes.
Portchester Whooping Cranes.
I beat in division rivals Kevin Stinn by about 45.
It was interdivision. All games were interdivision, if I'm not mistaken.
I believe you're correct. Yes.
And Ray, of course, locked and loaded, is now 3-10. This is what we need to see. But look,
it's just not his year, man.
It's not his year. It's not his year. But
yeah, go ahead.
But like, let's look at not years. All right. Poor Gabe. He was
so close.
He was so close. He gave such a valiant effort. And Adam, who is limping into the playoffs like a gut shot deer.
Uh-huh.
I mean, it is Adam, you're not going to last long in the playoffs. You keep putting up numbers like this, my friend. You've got to get some numbers out of your guys. And it's just, boy, is he squeaking by the skin of his teeth. But I have this question for you, Mr. Commissioner.
Yes.
How are the playoff seedings arranged? Is it because I believe Who's the Boss beat you, and you guys are both tied at 10-3 overall?
That is true.
Is it best record?
It is best record, and then head to head, and then points. So I want to show you something first off, because you're talking about Adam going here. Look at his last, let's call him 4 weeks here on this line here. He has finished 10th, 2nd, 10th, 10th. That is not a good place to be going into the playoffs.
That's not the way you want to go into the playoffs. I agree. I
All right.
agree. And we've all had bad weeks, right? There's just weeks when you got bad matchups, you got a couple of injuries, you got some buys that are badly timed. But boy, it's not 3 of the 4.
It's
rough.
You look at the rest of us.
He had a 9th highest score. Boy, oh boy, he's had a real yo-yo year.
Yeah, he had a good stretch here.
He was good. He was strong in the middle for sure.
But you look at the other 4 teams that are like for sure going into the playoffs, and we haven't dropped the ball that much here in the last few weeks.
The teams are strong for a reason. And look, we'll get there. We'll talk about that. As a matter of fact, why don't we just go segue right into this, right? Let's segue right into playoffs. There's 5 teams that make the playoffs. Right?
That's correct.
And it just so happens this season that there's 5 teams that are clearly more consistent.
There are 5 teams that have been in the projected playoffs since week 7. It's been Adam, myself, you, Tom, and Rob in some order for the past, 5 weeks. So, yeah, that's where we're sitting right now.
And that's where we're sitting. It's going to go in, and it really comes down to there's just some seeding at this point. But look, if Adam doesn't lose this week, he's the number 1 seed.
That's correct, because he beat me.
He's got to win. Now, he can lose this week and you can lose this week. And he still makes it in. If I'm not, it's the number 1 seed. He needs some things, but look, winning, you're in. That's it. Winning, you're in.
Yep.
So you got these 5 teams. So how exactly, explain to us the way the playoffs work. Does the number 1 seed have a bye and everybody else plays each other?
So the 3 division winners. So if we go to the standings here, the 3 division winners have a bye going into the first week 14. The 2 wild card teams will play each other in. And actually, let me see if I can't bring that up.
And then the wild card plays. Oh my God!
And then Adam, the wild card plays the number 1. Yeah, and the wild card.
Adam, please win this week, Adam. Just in case I become the wild card team, I can play you in the playoffs. Please win.
Well, that's just it. I mean, look at your division here. This is a mess. This is a nightmare for all 3 of you, because there's only 1 division winner, and you are all sitting at 9-4.
It's difficult. So what you have is, look, it's just sometimes the teams are weighted in one division, and it's unfortunate if you're in that division, right? I'm in this division, but you've got 3 good teams, and Miller High Life is not a terrible team.
No,
but there's 3 good teams, but look at that scoring average, and you can see clearly, there's a reason that teams have this record. But it's frustrating when you're in a division like this, when you got a good team and you got to struggle just to make the playoffs, and then you got to, it's one game, it's a 1-game thing, and once you hit the playoffs, it's luck of the draw sometimes, and it's a 1-game thing. It really is a 1-game thing, and you can have an awesome team and just have a bad week in week 15. Oops.
You dropped it and you're out.
And that's just the way it is.
Yep.
And then other times you can just get lucky and go crazy on something like that.
Oh yeah, absolutely. So here's the playoffs bracket. So the 4 and 5 seed are your 2 wild cards. That is the best remaining record out of the non-division winners, and the most points scored out of the non-division winners. That is almost without a doubt going to be either, well, Tom is going to be one of them, I think, based on who's playing who this weekend. Yeah. It's going to be the loser of you and Rob this week. It's a huge game. Because
as the 5 seed, really, the loser of that game is going to be the 5 seed. I think it's locked in because Tom's going to be the 4 seed unless he loses.
Right.
But Tom plays Miller time.
Which, I mean, it's not necessarily.
Look, Miller time gave me a hell of a run this week.
I was gonna say he's got a few wins under his belt, and let's take a look.
He's got a solid team.
Here, he's got. I mean, it's only 20 points. Has he set his lineup? Is the question. Miller. So no, he has not set his lineup. He's got a couple zeros still in there. Tom has a couple zeros in there. So this isn't necessarily, they got to set their lineups, but right now sitting 20 points. Let's say replace that with a 10 and that with a 10 and this with a 10, and it's really only about 10 points difference.
Yeah, that's going to be a close game either way, because you just look at it, and some of these teams in really week 13, there's a couple of people on bye this week. Mm-hmm. A couple of teams on bye, the Panthers and the Buccaneers. And for me, before I made some movements on my wide receiver core, I was in real trouble with this week. Just getting somebody who can put some points up, who could start for me. Luckily enough, I was able to avoid that, but it's there's some real buys and some teams that really score some points. I think if we can look ahead a little bit, Rob and I look at that, the projected matchup is 241 versus 230. We'll see.
That's going to be tight right there. And
we shall see.
Like we were saying before, right? The winner of that gets one of these two. It really doesn't matter which one it is, but number 2 or number 3 seed. Now, for the number 1 seed, that's really coming down probably to between myself and Adam.
100%.
And for that to, for us to look at how that works out, if I can find myself. Well, here's Bosk, right? That's not a necessarily, I mean, that's a pretty tight game too. And it looks like Ray has yet to set his lineup.
Yeah, but it's Ray, so he's why is there a picture of Mike Glennon on my screen?
That's a great question. Thank you, My Fantasy League, for setting up some random stuff, man.
Like, you know what? Thank you for putting a picture of a giraffe in there. Also, just like, you know what? The star of the game, clearly. If there's nothing else, you know what? Maybe this is just the mascot for Ray's team this year.
Right.
Is Mike Glennon.
Mike Glennon. So, but, to be honest with you, though, Ray has a good shot of beating Adam. Adam's not been performing well. And then if you look at my game, I'm going against Mike. Now, Mike has a lot. He's got to set his lineup. But, he's been scoring. What's he been scoring recently? Cheese graters. I mean, he's got a 217, a 201. I mean, he's no slouch.
Yeah. Yeah, he had never gone over 201 points, and then I played him and he put a 217 up there. Thanks, pal.
Good job.
Appreciate that. Couldn't get enough of you.
So, yeah, but that's who ends up in number 1 if depending on all that. However, is there a chance, looking at the standings here, is there a chance if both Adam and I lose, we become 10-3 or 10-4? Do you pass us both?
Well, the problem is I've lost to both of you. But Rob lost to both of you?
I thought you beat me. But let's.
I beat you. That's right. I beat you by like 1 point.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah. Wait.
No, you beat me.
Okay.
I beat you by 1 point for the high score that 1 week. That was what it was.
Yeah. Okay. So I beat you.
I've lost to you.
I lost to Rob.
You lost to Rob. I've lost to you. I've lost to Adam. I've lost to Tom. And then I got a 4th loss in there somewhere.
So, okay. So Rob actually has a halfway decent shot if we both lose. If Adam and I both lose and we end up with a bunch of teams at 10-4. Rob has beaten me and Rob has beaten Adam. So he would be the number one. He would go from basically being the
5 seed.
The 5
He'd go from
seed.
the 5 seed to the 1 seed.
He's been the 5 seed since week 7. He would pop up to the 1 seed. Talk about a comeback story right there.
Well, look, he's been putting up points every week, frustratingly. You know, I traded him James Robinson thinking there's no way that this undrafted rookie can keep this up. And
I know. And then he did.
And here we go, and he's kept it up. So
right.
Rob's got a solid team. He's got a very solid team. I don't know what he's going to do next year with those salaries. Right. But he's got a solid team. He's got to pay some of those guys. He's got to Tyreek Hill, man. Tyreek Hill is great. He scores a lot of points, but boy, is he expensive.
Yep. Absolutely.
And you can't keep paying these guys. It's just, we're going to see after the end of the year. But like Tyreek Hill, look at how many points he's had.
Oh, yeah. He's on a 5-year salary, but that salary is $94.
$94. He's worth it, man. Look at those points. You can't tell me he's not worth it. But
he's dropped 1 game in 11.
But you've got to. But you gotta.
Yeah, you do. I mean, you got
to figure out your salary cap situation.
You look at mine, right? Oops, go back. And I've got a couple of high dollar wide receivers, right?
You got $90+ wide receivers.
$96 for Devontae. But again, other than these games that he was hurt, he got hurt in the Lions game and missed two additional games. You look at the points he's producing.
And you can't argue with any of that, right? And DeAndre, so I think Davante Adams, even with those missed games, is still like the 2nd or 3rd highest scoring wide receiver.
He is.
DeAndre Hopkins is the 5th highest scoring wide receiver. None of these are bad contracts per se. They're not bad contracts.
Right.
They're just expensive. Star players cost a lot of money. But when you pay star players and they produce, that's okay.
It's totally worth it.
That's why you pay them the big bucks. You know, we're going to go back at the end of the season. We're going to look at things. We're going to, we can recap best and worst contracts.
That sounds like a great idea.
But I got to tell you, Tyreek Hill, DeAndre Hopkins, and Davante Adams are not going to be in any conversation for the worst contract.
No.
Because they have produced 100%.
Absolutely. Yep. I mean, Hopkins, Nuke has kind of slipped these last couple weeks, but I think that's more a Kyler Murray situation.
It is, and this is the way it goes. But look, and I don't want to talk about trades too much, but that's why you went and you got Calvin Ridley.
Right.
You made moves to fortify that.
Right. Yeah,
and Kyler, trust me. Look, you go back on Kyler. Look, as Kyler's owner, boy, I was living the high life because I could count on that 25 points at least every week. And then this past week, it was rough.
It was pretty ugly.
It was tough going with that. Yeah, with those points. So
yeah, I mean, you look at your path through the playoffs though, and it's not that terrible. Giants, Eagles, Niners. Niners would be tough in the ship if you make it that far. It'd be tough for Mr. Murray.
Yeah. Look, it looks good. We'll see. It's tough to look ahead right now when you start going on individual players.
Right. I mean,
look, your stars are always going to produce points. You can't get in a matchup game. If you're paying a guy big bucks and you counted on him all year, why are you worried about matchups?
Exactly. Somebody that has really popped this year and shows the power of the draft, right? The rookie draft. Justin Herbert. Look at that.
Justin Herbert he's been
phenomenal.
Look, I watched Justin Herbert 2 times at Sun Devil Stadium. And I watched him lose 2 times at Sun Devil Stadium and look completely lost. Remember last year when they played Auburn for the first game of the season, and he had to throw a Hail Mary at the end of the game, and he threw it 10 yards out of the end zone? I mean, like he didn't seem like That was a bad pick by the Chargers, it seemed like. It was
Right.
not a bad pick. Turns out NFL personnel people are good at what they do.
They know what they're doing.
Yes. And it's idiots like us are running a podcast on Thursday night.
Exactly.
All right. So we've looked ahead. We've
Mhm.
looked at the playoff picture. I think we're ready to wrap this episode up.
Right on.
It has been a fantastic week. I'm looking forward to this final week. It's fun. It's fun to see everybody engaged. It was fun to see a big flurry of activity at the end of the trade.
Oh, the trade deadline was fun. Absolutely.
It was fun. Just people were active. People were in it. Look, any of it is better than that bullshit football game that the Steelers and the Ravens played. It was awful. That was the most boring, awful game.
And it's so weird, right? So they play in the middle of the afternoon on a Wednesday.
Yeah.
All because somebody wants to light a Christmas tree.
Well, look, there's contracts in place on that.
Oh, right? Absolutely. But
there's advertising in place. People paid big bucks for that advertising, so you can't displace that. But really, I want to know what the NFL's rules are for COVID, because the Ravens were having people test positive every day. I would not want to play against the Ravens.
No.
Because there's a good chance that somebody across the line of scrimmage from me is going to test positive.
Right. And he's probably going to breathe on you and cough on you and sneeze on you and everything else.
You're going to get it.
Yeah. Meanwhile, they make the poor Broncos play with no quarterbacks.
Okay, so I picked that guy up in a different league. And just because why not? Because it would seem fun, right?
Right.
No, those were negative points. I don't suggest doing that.
Yeah, that wasn't good. It was a
just
weird.
Leave that one alone, buddy.
It was a weird football week for certain things, you know.
It has.
You got that.
It has.
Got the girl in Vanderbilt, kicking, or woman, I should say, in Vanderbilt playing Power 5 football for the first time ever, which was kind of neat.
But I thought it was a cool thing. And then, boy, oh boy, did people get their panties in a bunch over that, didn't they?
They did. And quite frankly,
why?
I don't.
Why do people?
I don't get it.
Have you ever tried to kick a football, Dave?
I have. I played football in high
school. It's really hard. It's very, very difficult.
Ridiculously tough to do. Yes.
I don't understand. I tried, and then my hip hurts. I must have kicked the football 25 times trying to make a 20-yard field goal. I could not make a 20-yard field goal.
No, absolutely not. It's so tough. A suggestion for something to watch. Pat McAfee runs a podcast. Excellent show. 5 times a week, 3 hours a day. Like, I don't get how he does it.
That dude's cranking.
It's like a radio show. He's got like 6 other people like working with him. But yeah, he talks about the mechanics of kicking a ball, and doing punting and kicking and kickoffs and everything else, and how it's all different. And from what I understand, this woman is exceptionally good at kicking a soccer ball. Kicking a football is a little different, and she'd been doing it for 3 days, so you can't fault her for kicking how she did when you got 3 days practice.
Okay, so was it a squib kick? Because if it was a squib kick,
yeah.
If it was called for, she executed it just the way it's supposed to be done.
Absolutely. And from what I understand, she's got a good shot of playing again this week because they're still under COVID quarantine. It's insane.
Oh God, it's this whole COVID thing. All right. So I just came off of quarantine.
Right.
I was exposed. I didn't know it. Obviously didn't know it. And I got together the weekend before Thanksgiving. And it was with only 6 people, but there was a reason why they say don't gather in groups. And I gathered with 6 people, myself included. And Tuesday rolls around, the guy says, "Hey, I got COVID. Go get yourself tested." So I went and I got myself tested twice. Waited the amount of time. It turned out it was okay, but it's scary and it's inconvenient and it sucks. So my parting words here to everybody: just be careful. Watch what you do. I want everybody to suck just as bad as you did this year, next year. All right. And if you're good, I want you to suck next year.
Not a chance there, Nick.
Oh, darn it.
I think people are going to learn from this year. I think they're going to have a very interesting strategy coming into next year. That is one thing I noticed when I was putting together everything here. I'll throw this up again. When I was putting this together, take a look at this. This is a little scary, isn't it? Gabe, right?
Yeah.
Started off the year, not good. Guess what he's hitting now all of a sudden? He's made a few trades. He's actually got
good trades. He's made some solid trades.
Exactly. He's got that
and team. He picked up Dak, right?
He did. So he's going to be
that's
really scary.
Trade.
He's going to be really scary
Dak
next
at
year.
A low cost. I'm a little. That was well done, Gabe. Well done.
Applause. Because he's going to be kind of sneaky good next year. I have a feeling. I just wanted to show you that. I thought that was interesting.
That was interesting. That is interesting. All right. Look, that's it for us. We will see you next week. Same bad time, same bad channel.
Maybe.
Dave, any parting words?
Good luck, everybody. Thank you so much. This is the final regular season week, so it is unfortunately the final week that some of you get to play, and except for the Pro Bowl, of course, which we'll have a little more on that for next week's podcast. But thank you so much. It was a very great regular season. Good luck to everybody in the playoffs. Thank you very much. We'll see y'all later.
All right. Later, Dave.
Have a good one.